Have you ever wondered why some gardens stay lush and productive even during long dry spells, while others struggle despite frequent watering? The answer often has less to do with how much water is used and far more to do with how wisely that water is managed. Many gardeners believe that watering more is the safest solution. In reality, overwatering is one of the most common mistakes people make. It wastes water, weakens plant roots, encourages diseases, and often produces disappointing harvests. The good news is that saving water doesn't mean sacrificing healthy vegetables, beautiful flowers, or thriving fruit trees. In fact, the opposite is usually true. Today, we're exploring proven methods that help your garden grow stronger while using significantly less water. These techniques have been tested by experienced gardeners for decades and continue to prove their value in both home gardens and larger growing spaces. Whether you're dealing with hot summers, water restrictions, or simply want to lower your water bill, these practical strategies can transform the way you garden. Let's begin with one of the simplest and most powerful secrets. The first secret is understanding that healthy soil acts like a giant sponge. Many people focus entirely on watering schedules while ignoring the condition of the soil itself. Yet soil determines how much water actually reaches plant roots and how long that moisture remains available. Soil rich in organic matter can hold several times more water than poor, compacted soil. Compost, well-rotted manure, shredded leaves, and other natural organic materials improve soil structure by creating tiny spaces that store moisture like miniature reservoirs. Every season, adding a layer of compost gradually increases the soil's ability to retain water. Plants benefit because moisture stays available longer, and gardeners benefit because watering becomes much less frequent. Healthy soil also encourages earthworms and beneficial microorganisms. These living organisms continuously improve soil structure, creating channels that allow rainwater to penetrate deeply instead of running off the surface. If your garden soil becomes hard after rain or develops cracks during dry weather, it's sending a clear message that it needs more organic matter. The next technique may look incredibly simple, but its impact surprises many gardeners. Mulching. A bare soil surface loses enormous amounts of water every single day through evaporation. On hot, sunny afternoons, moisture disappears long before plant roots have a chance to use it. A thick layer of mulch acts like a protective blanket. Wood chips, shredded bark, straw, dried grass clippings, pine needles, compost, or chopped leaves all reduce evaporation dramatically. Depending on weather conditions, mulch can decrease water loss by as much as 50% or even more. Besides conserving moisture, mulch suppresses weeds. Why does that matter? Because weeds compete directly with your vegetables and flowers for every drop of available water. Every weed you remove is water saved for the plants you actually want to grow. Mulch also keeps soil temperatures more stable. During hot summer afternoons, bare soil may become extremely hot, stressing delicate roots. Mulch insulates the ground, helping roots remain cooler and healthier. As organic mulch slowly breaks down, it feeds the soil naturally, improving its ability to hold even more moisture over time. Just remember not to pile mulch directly against plant stems or tree trunks. Leave a small gap to improve air circulation and reduce the risk of rot. Now let's talk about something that many gardeners overlook completely: the timing of watering. Watering during the hottest part of the day is one of the least efficient habits. When temperatures are high, much of the water evaporates before it ever reaches the roots. Strong sunlight and warm air work together to steal moisture almost immediately. Early morning is generally considered the ideal time to water. The soil is cooler, evaporation is minimal, and plants have plenty of time to absorb moisture before daytime heat arrives. Morning watering also allows leaves to dry quickly, reducing the chance of fungal diseases that thrive on prolonged moisture. Evening watering can also work well in many climates, especially during periods of extreme heat. However, It's usually best to water early enough that leaves aren't left wet throughout the entire night. The goal is simple. Deliver water where plants need it most, with as little waste as possible. That brings us to another important principle. Water deeply, but less often. Many beginners water lightly every day because they assume constant moisture is beneficial. Unfortunately, shallow watering encourages shallow roots. When moisture only reaches the upper few inches of soil, roots remain close to the surface. Those shallow roots dry out quickly during warm weather, forcing gardeners into an endless cycle of daily watering. Deep watering encourages roots to grow farther into the soil in search of moisture. Plants with deep root systems tolerate drought far better, remain healthier during heat waves, and become much less dependent on constant irrigation. A good soaking once or twice each week often produces stronger plants than quick daily watering. The exact frequency depends on soil type, rainfall, and temperature, but the principle remains remarkably consistent. Train roots to grow downward. The stronger the root system becomes, the less often you'll need to water. Now that we've covered healthy soil, mulching, proper watering times, and deep watering, let's move on to techniques that can reduce water use even further. One of the most effective upgrades any gardener can make is switching from overhead watering to drip irrigation. Traditional sprinklers may seem convenient, but they often waste a surprising amount of water. Wind carries droplets away, water lands on pathways instead of plants, and much of it evaporates before soaking into the ground. Drip irrigation works differently. Instead of spraying water through the air, it delivers small amounts directly to the base of each plant. Every drop goes where it's actually needed, right into the root zone. This approach offers several important advantages. Plants receive moisture slowly, allowing the soil to absorb it instead of letting it run off the surface. Leaves stay dry, reducing the spread of fungal diseases. Weed growth also decreases because only cultivated plants receive regular watering. Even a simple soaker hose laid between rows of vegetables can dramatically reduce water consumption while improving plant health. If installing a full irrigation system isn't practical, watering with a hose fitted with a watering wand close to the soil surface is still far more efficient than spraying water high into the air. Another excellent strategy is collecting rainwater. Every rainfall provides free, naturally soft water that's perfect for gardens. A rain barrel connected to a roof downspout can capture hundreds of gallons throughout the growing season. Instead of letting that valuable resource flow into storm drains, you can store it for dry days. Rainwater also contains no chlorine and is generally well suited for vegetables, herbs, flowers, and fruit trees. Even regions that experience only occasional rain can collect enough water to make a noticeable difference during dry periods. The next tip surprises many gardeners because it begins before planting anything at all. Grow the right plants in the right place. Some species naturally require much less water than others. Lavender, rosemary, thyme, sage, yarrow, sedum, many ornamental grasses, and numerous native plants thrive with surprisingly little irrigation once established. Vegetables vary as well. Tomatoes, peppers, beans, and many herbs usually tolerate moderate dry periods better than shallow-rooted leafy greens. Whenever possible, group plants according to their water needs. This practice is often called hydrozoning. Instead of mixing thirsty vegetables with drought-tolerant herbs, place plants with similar requirements together. Doing so allows you to water only the areas that truly need extra moisture. One section of the garden may require regular irrigation, while another remains healthy with very little supplemental watering. This simple adjustment prevents unnecessary waste. Let's also discuss spacing. Many beginners think squeezing plants close together will increase production. In reality, overcrowded plants compete intensely for water, nutrients, sunlight, and air circulation. Proper spacing allows roots to develop fully while reducing stress during hot weather. Interestingly, once mature plants form a healthy canopy, their leaves shade the soil naturally. Reducing evaporation. Finding the right balance between crowding and excessive spacing helps conserve moisture throughout the season. Now let's examine an often overlooked source of water loss. Wind. Strong, dry winds can remove moisture from both leaves and soil surprisingly quickly. Even if temperatures aren't especially high, constant wind increases evaporation dramatically. Gardeners in windy locations often benefit from installing windbreaks. These don't have to be expensive. Hedges, shrubs, fences, trellises with climbing plants, or even carefully positioned garden structures can reduce wind speed enough to protect valuable moisture. You'll often notice healthier plants and less frequent watering after reducing wind exposure. Another useful habit is checking soil moisture before watering. Many gardeners water automatically according to the calendar rather than actual need. Instead, push your finger 2 to 3 inches into the soil. If the soil still feels cool and moist beneath the surface, watering can usually wait. This simple test prevents unnecessary irrigation and encourages stronger root development. For larger gardens, inexpensive soil moisture meters can provide even more accurate readings. Now let's look at containers. Potted plants usually dry out much faster than plants growing directly in the ground because they contain a limited amount of soil. Fortunately, several adjustments can help. Choose larger containers whenever possible. A larger volume of soil stores more moisture and heats up more slowly. Use high-quality potting mixes rich in organic matter rather than ordinary garden soil. Adding mulch to container surfaces also reduces evaporation just as effectively as it does in garden beds. Light-colored containers stay cooler than dark ones during summer, helping roots remain comfortable while slowing water loss. If possible, group containers together. As plants release moisture through transpiration, they create a slightly more humid microclimate around each other, reducing overall water stress. Finally, remember that the healthiest gardens rarely depend on constant watering. Instead, they depend on smart planning, healthy soil, efficient irrigation, and understanding how plants naturally use water. As we reach the final part of this guide, it's time to bring everything together into a practical system that helps your garden stay productive while using as little water as possible. One of the most effective habits experienced gardeners develop is paying close attention to the weather instead of watering on a fixed schedule. Many people automatically water every evening or every weekend simply because it's become a routine. But plants don't follow calendars, they respond to real conditions. If rain is expected within the next day, delaying irrigation can save a significant amount of water. Likewise, after a slow, soaking rain, the soil may stay moist for several days, making additional watering unnecessary. Learning to observe your garden is often more valuable than following any schedule. Another important technique is loosening the soil surface from time to time. After watering or rainfall, the top layer of soil can develop a thin crust, especially in clay soils. This crust makes it harder for water to penetrate during the next irrigation and increases evaporation from the surface. Gently cultivating the top inch of soil breaks this crust without disturbing plant roots. Gardeners have long called this practice a dry watering because it helps preserve moisture already stored underground. Small efforts like this can make a noticeable difference over an entire growing season. Shade is another powerful tool for conserving water. During periods of extreme heat, temporary shade cloth can reduce plant stress dramatically. By lowering the temperature around vegetables, fruits, and young seedlings, less moisture is lost through evaporation and transpiration. This doesn't mean keeping plants in constant shade. Most vegetables still need plenty of sunlight to produce well. The goal is simply to protect them during the hottest part of exceptionally hot days. Even taller plants can help. Corn, sunflowers, climbing beans, or carefully placed trellises may provide afternoon shade. For more delicate crops growing nearby, nature often creates its own solutions when plants are arranged thoughtfully. Let's talk about one of the biggest hidden sources of water waste: leaks. A dripping hose connection or a tiny crack in an irrigation line may seem insignificant, but over weeks and months it can waste hundreds of gallons of water. Inspect hoses, fittings, sprinklers, and drip lines regularly. A few minutes spent checking your watering equipment can prevent a surprising amount of waste. If you use drip irrigation, occasionally check that emitters aren't clogged or damaged. Uniform watering ensures every plant receives the right amount of moisture without overwatering some areas and underwatering others. Another common mistake is watering the entire garden equally. Different plants have different needs. Newly planted seedlings require more frequent moisture while their roots become established. Mature fruit trees, on the other hand, often benefit from deep but infrequent watering. Root vegetables usually need consistent moisture while forming, whereas many Mediterranean herbs perform better when allowed to dry slightly between waterings. Treating every plant the same often wastes water and reduces harvest quality. Observation remains one of the gardener's greatest skills. Watch your plants closely. Leaves that droop in the intense afternoon sun don't always indicate drought. Many plants temporarily wilt during the hottest hours to reduce water loss, then recover naturally as temperatures fall. Before reaching for the hose, check the soil. If it's still moist several inches below the surface, the plant may not need watering at all. This simple habit alone can prevent countless unnecessary watering sessions. It's also worth remembering that lawns usually require far more water than vegetable gardens. If conserving water is a priority, consider reducing unnecessary lawn areas and replacing them with vegetable beds, native plants, flowering perennials, or ground covers adapted to your climate. These landscapes often provide more beauty, attract beneficial pollinators, and require significantly less irrigation once established. Perhaps the most important lesson is this: a water-efficient garden isn't created overnight. Each improvement builds upon the last. Adding compost this year improves next year's soil. Mulching today reduces tomorrow's evaporation. Deep watering this week encourages stronger roots next month. Collecting rainwater now provides a valuable reserve during the next dry spell. Small, consistent changes gradually transform the entire garden into a healthier, more resilient ecosystem. And that's exactly what experienced gardeners have understood for generations. They don't fight nature. They work with it. Healthy soil stores moisture. Mulch protects that moisture. Deep roots reach it. Smart watering delivers it efficiently. Together, these simple principles allow plants to thrive while using far less water than most people imagine possible. As water becomes an increasingly valuable resource around the world, every drop we save matters. Not only for lower water bills, but for healthier gardens, stronger harvests, and a more sustainable future. If you begin applying even a few of the methods we've discussed today, you'll likely notice stronger plants, healthier soil, fewer weeds, and less time spent watering, all while using considerably less water than before. Thank you for watching. If you found these water-saving gardening tips helpful, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more practical gardening advice, proven growing techniques, and simple solutions that help you harvest more with less effort. Until next time, happy gardening, and may every drop of water help your garden flourish.